Well, welcome back to the Next Phase with Steve Key podcast. How are you doing? Over the last few weeks, I've been meeting with a lot of students, and most of these are Zoom meetings, occasional phone call, uh, but they're facing a very difficult time in their career. Some are just finishing school, looking for internships. In the COVID environment, this is almost next to impossible. So it's challenging for them. And the others are looking for their first job. And really I take a lot of these meetings because I want to help. I want to give back. I want to be a seasoned voice for them so that they have some new contact, some person to build a network with that is not too intimidating. It's really tough. You think about it. You pick up the phone and you try to get a meeting with someone to learn about their career and talk to them. When I was 18 years old, I I didn't know what to do. Now some of these are mid 20s. It's a little easier, but in today's technology enhanced world, the art of the conversation, the interview, is a little bit more difficult. And some of them are learning, and the only way they're going to learn is by doing. And if I'm a good first step, then I'm happy to be that great first step. And I'm fortunate because I have 40 years of knowledge up here in this head that I'm willing to give. And it's been such a wonderful journey. So, any way I can give back, I do, and I will. But then I look back to 1980 when I first entered Humber College and how times have changed. I mean, think about it. The average income for the year was about 19,500. Cost of a new home was just under $70,000. Uh, Rent was about $300. I guess you put all of that into perspective. The costs are just so high right now. Trying to buy a home in Toronto would cost you $1 million. And if you're not starting out making $100,000, you think you're falling behind. My first radio job paid me $9,500 a year, $9,500 a year, and that was in 1982. Uh, you can't survive on that, but in those times you could. But face it, a suit was, $90 to buy a good suit. About the most expensive luxury item that I remember getting was a VCR, old VHS tapes in there, but that was about $700, and everything is, I guess, goes into perspective. I mean, think about 1980. There was a Trudeau as Prime Minister of Canada. It was Pierre and not Justin. Uh, we were seeing a change in the way that news is presented. CNN first launched in 1980. The fax machine was developed in 1980. So the way that we were able to transmit documentation has changed. This was way before email. Uh, so you had to have ways of getting paper in front of you. The smartphone, I look at my phone on a daily basis hundreds of times. Um, Cell phone in the early 80s was a big strapping unit that you'd slug over your shoulder, must have weighed 15 or 20 pounds, was not portable, but it was innovative in the day. Uh, and my career took on a number of different paths. So I do remember talking to a few people in the radio business when I was in college, uh, just learning the tricks of the trade. I wanted to be a sportscaster. I spoke with a couple of different sportscasters who were prominent in Toronto back then. It was a big help in my career. I was at Humber from 1980 to 1983. And then In 82, during my time at Humber, I was able to get an internship that turned into a job at CKO Radio. I stayed there until 1988, where I learned just about everything. But it was at that time I started building contacts, and whether they were at my radio station, the news industry in general, other radio stations, or people I would interview. And if I did work at police headquarters or Queen's Park or City Hall, building that network, which was vital. And it was part of building that network that helped me get my next job in 1988 when I left radio to go work for the Toronto Stock Exchange. I started there as a media services officer and I did business broadcasts back to radio stations. And I slowly started to build up a media relations practice. Well, a job I thought I might stay for a year or two turned out to be a 20-year career. And I left there in 2008. Yeah, 2008. I was the director of corporate communications, worked for some incredible people. And again, along the way, continued to build that business network up. Building a network, it's a theme you're going to hear through this entire podcast. Important because to find your next job, you have to know people because that's how you're going to hear about it. That led me to Sun Life Financial in 2008, where, again, through my network, somebody knew who I was able to get into that job. That was a tough time, the real global market meltdown of the financial sector, subprime mortgage market in the U.S. So companies like Sun Life and other financial companies were really struggling in that period. I spent better part of 2 years there, and it was crazy times. And I left to do some work on my own. I ended up then working with an agency, and that led to the job in 2011 at the Insurance Bureau of Canada. And for 9 years, I led media and then eventually all of external communications, which included traditional social media, digital platforms, the website, the events team. It was quite the ride. But I knew that all things need to come to an end. I was getting older. I retired at the end of 2020 and launched my own company, Steve Key Communications, in early 2021. And I'm working with, again, clients that I have built through networking. People call me because they know what I'm capable of doing, and I can work at the pace I want to work with the types of assignments I want to do. So, what have I learned? What magical words of wisdom do I have for young people? Number one, drop that ego. I had a big one when I was 18, knocked that right down. And that was when I was able to learn, realize where I was in the pecking order and how important it was to listen with the two ears, speak with the one mouth. And by listening, you be a sponge. You take in everything from the people around you. You're open to criticism, critique, and guidance because people will help you. There are great people out there. Continue to learn and grow. The promotions, the jobs will come with that. Bottom line, write well. Secondly, speak well. So don't be afraid to do presentations in front of groups. It helps build your own profile, but it also helps you sell yourself, which is important in moving from job to job. Networking, and people are doing that with me now, and I continue to do that with people that I maybe know a little bit or I want to know more. And some of those will lead to work and other positions. I talk about you taking the wheel and driving your own bus because you're in control. It's better to be driving that bus than being a passenger at the back of the bus, because if you're a passenger at the back of the bus, you can only do so much. If you're in charge, you can do more. Do continuous education, learn, grow, and develop. And for young people, better to be a generalist and do a lot of things than try to specialize too early. I'll talk in a couple of minutes about moving into specific areas, but you need to be able to do 10 or 15 different things. That makes you a lot more marketable to places that are trying to hire you, especially for that first job. If I had a list of recommendations, one would be to read newspapers. Get a good perspective of what's going on, watch national newscasts, get a good world global perspective of what's happening and what that might mean for us here in Canada. Write every day for work, for pleasure. The more you write, the better you will get at it. Update your skills. Learn to do presentations, PowerPoints, design. Also, enhance your photography skills. The phone is incredible. You can do some wonderful things on the phone, but look with an eye where your audience is going to feel something from that photo, not just a glorified selfie or just a shot of someone doing a handshake somewhere. Network. I can't talk about that enough. You have to network. And look for mentors. Look for people that you can take a little bit off of each one. That will make you better. And then pay that back and help the next generation of people as they start to move up. So it's like I look for mentors to help me, and I try to mentor to help other people. LinkedIn is key to giving you a business facing platform. Because if I don't know somebody, I'll immediately look up their LinkedIn profile, and that gives me a good understanding. So if that's not updated, I'm going to think that you're not really updating on any of that. And be social media savvy, but be careful that it can't be used against you. So be careful with opinions or who you might be angry about. It's different when you're 40 years in the business. I can probably say things today I couldn't have said 10 or 15 years ago when I was trying to find work. Choose that career path wisely. Do you want to be in corporate communications at a company and or a not-for-profit, or do you want to work in an agency where you can do a lot of different things? I think young people initially should be looking to work for agencies. I think they're wonderful, and you can do so much, and you can really grow and develop and move up the chain faster than you can in a corporate environment. Also, strategic versus tactical. At the beginning, you're going to do a lot of the tasks, the tactics of a communications plan. But keep an eye on what is the strategy, what you're trying to do with the goal and what you want to achieve with this, and start to think strategically and be able to deliver tactically. Also, be prepared to move. That's something I didn't do. I stayed in Toronto. And I wonder now today, what would have happened if I took a job in Estevan, Saskatchewan or Wawa, Ontario? Would my life had changed, and would it be that much different? Keep an eye on your goals, what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, how you're going to get there. So always try to reinvent yourself along the way and dream big. If you want to be on the air in Toronto, if you want to be leading your own PR agency, dream big, because that'll help you focus on what you want to do. So if I have some life lessons, one, you need to take care of yourself. Very important. Work-life balance, and you need to put the family first. I spent a large portion of my career climbing this imaginary corporate ladder, and I probably neglected the people closest to me. Make your work enjoyable. You're going to spend a lot of time there. You might as well be happy doing it. Make and build friendships inside the office, outside the office, good support group, network around you. If you can learn a second language, or you know a second language, that's going to be helpful in the job market. They're always looking for bilingual people. And there are other markets growing as our country is growing. It's important to be able to speak multiple languages. I wish I could. I gave up French way too early. And then I tell people, uh, if you really want to balance yourself out properly, buy a dog. Uh, it's the greatest gift that I get on a daily basis. Now, in the 2020s, I think we're going to see a growth in careers around public health, uh, healthcare in general, uh, care of an aging population, and mental health. So these are areas that you may want to look at. Education will continue to be important, and finding and keeping good teachers and educators in general is vital. Uh, Artificial intelligence will be more and more. I mean, even think of what what happens here on our phones, and what's available. And I almost think for ourselves. Uh, there are a lot of programs out there, and whether you're on your social media networks, they can target what you're doing, and a lot of that is a lot of that behind the scenes AI that drives that. Um, Sales and marketing will continue to be strong. People are always trying to sell products and services. Digital designers, that's where, if you're artistic and you want to be in that field, I think making things look and present well will always be important. So, how do you keep yourself relevant? One, be a source and a resource. Be helpful, be available, be a go to person. Two, proclaim your rarity. It was told to me years ago, what do you do better than anyone else? Help build your career around that. And number three, be flexible. Uh, you never know what you're going to do tomorrow, uh, but be prepared to pivot and to take on those roles and responsibilities. I can't say that at the end of the day that everyone's going to be successful in this business. Uh, if you want to advance, connect and seek mentors, be social, be careful, talk with a purpose, listen to learn, be patient, it will happen, and do not give up. Until we speak again, take care and be well.